Mindfulness isn't for me because I don't really know how to. It's not for me because I tried it once and it didn't work. It's not for me because I'm not really into all that spiritual stuff. It's not for me because I get restless. I can't sit still that long. It's not for me because I just fall asleep whenever I try and meditate. There are 5 common objections to practicing mindfulness, and I'm going to attempt to debunk those reasons or objections and give you solutions for each of them so that you can bring mindfulness into your life. And why am I doing this? Why am I doing this on a podcast called Burnout Isn't Necessary? Because there are scientific studies that show that mindfulness helps people avoid burnout and overcome burnout. So let's debunk some of those excuses that you might have been using for not giving mindfulness a go. It's nearly 10 years since my burnout experience, and I believe that it wasn't necessary for me to burn out, and it's not necessary for you either. In this podcast, my guests and I share our real-life experiences with burnout. We get into the science of stress and share actionable tips on how to prevent burnout and how to recover from it. I'm Hannah Holden, ex-management consultant and burnout survivor. I work with management consultants to help them avoid and overcome burnout. I help them to get intentional about their choices, rebuild their energy, and embed new healthy habits so that they can get back to loving life. So today we're going to cover the first 2 of the 5 reasons not to practice mindfulness. The first one that I want to talk about is doubt. So I think this is the biggest blocker to anybody trying mindfulness or meditation or anything new, really. It's a bit like I talked about journaling as well. The biggest blocker is doubt. And it's things like the thoughts will look like, I doubt it even works. I doubt I can do it right. I doubt I could learn how to do that. I'm probably not that type. I'm probably not relaxed enough. I'm probably not kind of chilled out enough. I'm probably not spiritual enough. And it's just, it's a bit weird for me. And I'm not that type of person. So all these doubts, I believe, are the biggest blockers to trying these things. And so I think the solution to help you overcome that obstacle is to, first of all, understand what mindfulness is and what it isn't. That it isn't associated with any specific type of religion, that you don't have to believe any particular you don't have to hold any particular beliefs in order to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is purely bringing your awareness to the present moment, to acknowledging what's going on, what's happening in that present moment, and to not dwell on it, to just go, oh, that's interesting, and let it go, and just take your awareness back to your physical experience of what it's like to be in the here and now. That's it. And so when we add all these other bells and whistles to it and make it a bit fancier and a bit more complicated, then of course we're going to start thinking things like, oh, it sounds really complex. I doubt I could ever do that. I doubt I could learn how to do that. I'm not that type of person. I'm probably not spiritual enough or whatever enough to be able to practice it. So let's really understand what it is and what it isn't. Then I think try out a few different ways and see what works for you. So and don't expect it to, I think there's also something, we'll come on to like an expectation of what it's going to be like, but try out things and see what you like, what practices you feel you could come to regularly. And then I think it's helpful to observe the effects and maybe even write a few notes about the effects. So as you try different types of mindfulness, to write about it and see which ones work. But when we say work, like what is that experience? Just being, to sit and have thoughts come up doesn't mean that it's not working necessarily. So to describe your experiences, and then I think also to reflect on it later, so later in the day. So whilst you may have had a very frustrating experience attempting to practice mindfulness in the morning, and you think, oh, I don't want to do that again, it wasn't very pleasant. But what if it sets you up and that you find yourself in a different mindset for the rest of the day? Maybe it was worth it. Maybe it was working. Don't have this fixed view on what it means for it to be working or for you to be doing it right. Understand that mindfulness is really simple, that it is just being in the present moment. And then you could always look to find a mentor to share your experiences with and get reassurance when you have doubt or guidance when you have questions. And those mentors could come in the form of a friend that you know who practices mindfulness, or somebody who specifically teaches different types of mindfulness and meditation practices. Or maybe it's that you go to a regular yoga class and you can ask your yoga teacher questions about your own mindfulness practice. All right, so that's the first of the 5 reasons not to practice mindfulness: doubt, and some suggestions on how to overcome it. The second is having this expectation of what it's going to be like, having this desire for how you want and how you think your meditation practice should be, or your mindfulness practice should be. So you've got this idea in your head, and anything that's not quite that is disappointing. And can we somehow try to let go of that? I've just described what it is and what it isn't, and in its simplicity, and that it's about acknowledging whatever is happening in the moment. And if you're doing that, then that's successful. And it doesn't matter if you've got a lot of ideas coming into your mind or thoughts coming into your mind. That's just being aware of it. And that is, by definition, mindfulness. Even though you might have expected it to be a quietened mind, the mind quietens naturally over time as you practice this more and more. I think you may have heard definitions of mindfulness and meditation that are coming from people who've practiced it for 20 years or so, and thinking that that's something that you achieve the first time you do it, and therefore you think you can't do it, or you can't learn, or it's not for you, etc. And so you've got this desire, this view on what it should be like, and the disappointment of it not being like that. And then the other one around desire and wanting, and not so much non-acceptance, but the desire piece, is to daydream. And I'm definitely guilty of this one, that I will sit down with the intention of just observing, but I will experience a thought that seems quite fun or pleasurable, and then I will allow my mind to pursue that sometimes, rather than just saying, oh, that's an interesting thought, and letting it go. If it has positive associations, I can sometimes allow myself to drift off and daydream, and it takes me a while to catch myself. So I think that hopefully that helps when you think about what to expect. I first started practicing mindfulness regularly in about 2008, and here I am still sometimes going off into a daydream. So yeah, this is another example of a desire or a wanting that comes up when you can practice mindfulness. So what's the solution? Well, first of all, it's not supposed to be unbearable. It's not supposed to be unpleasant. So find a type of mindfulness practice that you enjoy. And the whole idea about sitting there, being mindful, being aware of what's coming up for you, is to then acknowledge it, but not grip onto them, not pursue them. So imagine they're like, I've got this image of like bunnies popping up out of their holes in the middle of a field. You don't have to chase every one that pops up. It's like, oh, that's interesting, I'm just going to let that bunny bounce off and do its thing, as opposed to feeling like you need to pursue every thought that comes into your mind. So that is the practice of mindfulness. So part of this is just, applying that practice. Finding a way to appreciate the moment. So if you are able to find a type of mindfulness that you enjoy, this should be easier for you, but find something that is a pleasurable experience. That might be the sensations of the air on your skin, or the feeling of breathing. And I think to help you with this, just to remind you what the research on happiness has found, which is that we are happier when our mind is on the present moment, and we are happier when we're in the present moment doing something that we don't like than if we're doing something that we do like but we're daydreaming. And we're also happier if we're focused on the present moment than when our mind is off wondering about happy things. So yeah, I'm going to close this first of the 2-part series on the 5 reasons why you shouldn't practice mindfulness, or the 5 reasons not to practice mindfulness, with that reminder that we are happier when our mind is on the present moment, even more so than if we're daydreaming happy thoughts. So I hope you found that an interesting insight, and we're beginning to disassemble some of those reasons that you have for not practicing mindfulness. For the full mindfulness episode, I covered that in episode 14, We also talked quite a bit about how you can, the benefits of mindfulness and how you can measure mindfulness in the High Performing Mindset with Raina Craft in episode 16. So yeah, I hope you found that a helpful 10 minutes, and I will see you next time. These podcasts are here to help you manage your stress and burnout, and your feedback is really valuable. So please rate this podcast and also drop me a note with any questions, suggestions, or feedback that you might have. One of the most common questions I get asked is, where should I start? And I believe that the best place for you to start is to learn how to soothe your nervous system. I've created a free download with instructions for 5 different ways that you can do just this, and all of them work pretty much instantly. It's called the Essential Toolkit for Management Consultants. You can download it now at www.hannahholden.co.uk/essential. One last thing, it's the legal language. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of your doctor, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional.